My marriage was pretty typical. We were happy in our own way, of course, but like any couple, we had our fair share of arguments and misunderstandings. Still, we always managed to work things out. Avery and I never kept our frustrations bottled up. We talked things through, and we were both content. At least that's what I thought. Turns out, happiness is fragile, and it doesn't take much to shatter it. Avery and I got married young, and honestly, the second time around was a bit tough. I worked as hard as I could to support our family, but in the midst of it all, I didn't realize just how much my wife needed help around the house. I had this old-fashioned mindset, thinking that the woman takes care of the home, and the man just stays out of it. But one day Avery opened up about how exhausted she was, how much she had on her plate. That was the first time I really started seeing our marriage differently. Suddenly, we both started stepping up in new ways. More support, more understanding. It was a turning point. As time passed, the children grew up. We both worked and shared household chores in half. Avery has always been single-minded, and this has helped her move up the career ladder quickly. She often worked late, and I could tell how much it meant to her. Watching her solve a problem or achieve a new goal was like watching her radiate energy, and it was invaluable to me. She also supported me, but let's face it, it's probably easier for men in some ways. We tend to handle everything without much fuss. So I took over the housework, vacuuming, cooking, and helping the kids with their homework. During the week it was up to me, but on weekends my wife always shone. She cleaned up, and we went to a restaurant for dinner. Life seemed balanced. Work, home, and little surprises here and there. I bought gifts for no reason, brought her flowers, or took her to a cafe from time to time. We didn't have any money, but we made the most of it, especially on holidays. That's what family harmony looked like to me. Oh, and the intimacy. It was still as good as it was when we first got together. I loved Avery just as much now as I did then. She was adored by the kids, loved by her family, and respected at work. To me, she'd fully blossomed as a woman. Then everything changed. Avery had a falling out at work and quit. I helped her find a new job, one that paid better and had more opportunities for growth. It was just around the corner from our place, which seemed like a win. But that's when the first red flags started popping up, though I brushed them off as stress and exhaustion. She got a promotion, and before I knew it, she was working even more, sometimes weekends too. The intimacy started to slip, and she barely spent any time with the kids. "I'm just so tired," she kept saying. We understood, of course. The kids and I tried not to be a burden, even planning a trip during the autumn break, so she could have some time to herself. But even then, she couldn't put the phone down. Calls and texts were constant. I never snooped through her phone, but I couldn't help but notice the same guy's name popping up on the screen again and again. "Are you jealous?" She laughed when she saw the look on my face. "Trust me, no one is interested in him. He's married, he has 3 children. He can't even be compared to you. He's bald and chubby." Her words did calm me a bit, but my doubts didn't fully disappear. They actually grew stronger when she put a password on her phone. "What's this all of a sudden?" I asked, a little confused. "You never know who might get into it." She shrugged it off. At work, things seemed to get back to normal for Avery, but intimacy never really returned to our relationship. We grew more distant, and the silence between us became more frequent. Then, one evening, After 11 o'clock p.m., she received another text message. I couldn't hold it in any longer. "What's so urgent that it can't wait until morning?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's nothing." She dismissed me, but she still answered the message right away. "Let me see," I demanded, my patience running thin. "No, that's my private space," she said firmly. The next day, I found out who he was, and I won't lie, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah, he was married with a kid, a couple of years younger than me, and not a hint of a gout or a bald spot. At that moment, all logic went out the window. I couldn't stop thinking about what kind of woman his wife was, so I ended up reaching out to her, sharing my suspicions. She responded, completely dismissing my claims, saying it couldn't be true because her husband spent all his free time with her. Then she told me to stop bothering her, especially since she was about to give birth. A couple of days later, Avery called me, crying. She admitted to seeing the messages and confessed everything. I even showed her the screenshots, and she immediately broke down, saying she didn't love him and didn't want to destroy her family. She even got down on her knees. But honestly, I felt disgusted, not just by her, but by the fact that our kids were there, witnessing it all. The first week was a blur. I was numb, going through the motions of work, coming home, doing the usual household stuff. But I didn't acknowledge Avery at all. I acted like she wasn't even there. The hardest part was seeing the kids. I could feel their pain, how tore up they were. I knew that, for their sake, I had to take the next step and file for divorce. I also knew, deep down, that the kids would want to stay with her, and that thought made me sick. Avery tried everything to make it right. She begged for forgiveness, cried, even tried to seduce me. But in that moment, all I could picture was her with another man. She talked about forgiveness, about how everyone makes mistakes. She even mentioned how her colleague's wife forgave him, so I should do the same. Well, maybe for the sake of the kids, right? But that's when I realized divorce was the only option. I couldn't let the kids grow up watching two miserable parents, or at least one miserable one. I'm not sure how things will go in court, with the property division still ahead of us, but I'm hoping for the best.